Do you know, Britain's Got Talent and America's Got Talent has given so many people their big break. And none is more so than our next guest because this gentleman made a devastating impact on those shows and he has gone on to worldwide recognition. We are incredibly proud to have him on the show today. Everybody, please welcome to iMagician Live with a thunderous round of virtual applause, the one and only Mr. Mark Spellman, aka X. Hi, Mark.
How you doing, Jamie? I'm just listening to that virtual applause. Yep, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. How are you?
We'll dial it down now. Yeah, I'm okay, thanks.
Good.
More importantly, how are you doing?
Doing really well. Doing really well. Obviously, for everyone, it's the strangest of times. Everyone you've interviewed must have said this, but yeah, the strangest of times. And how things are going to pan out, who knows at this stage, but you just got to keep positive, got to adjust and adapt and see what we can do. I think I think it's going to be an interesting thing, challenging, and but we just have to do our best, I guess.
I know a lot of our viewers are going to be hanging to find out about the Got Talent because you were on that show 2 years running. Now, you were on in 2018, 2019. Now, obviously 2019 was its whole other story. But just to touch on 2018, you got the Golden Buzzer, which I think was probably the first time any kind of magic-related act, certainly that I'd seen, won that. But more importantly, you created such a devastating emotional impact with the whole country. They all fell in love with you, and to do that you had to leave a huge part of yourself on the stage, which is probably something as performers we're not used to. And I just wanted to talk to you about that. What was that moment like? Do you even remember it?
It's absolutely surreal. So I remember in 2016 I thought 2015 I thought I'm going to audition for the 2016 Britain's Got Talent. And for those that don't know, my wife had some health issues and some battles, and we were trying for a baby. And
but she's okay now.
She's good.
She?
Absolutely. She's an absolute warrior. She really is. But so originally I was going to speak to Russ Stevens, who we all know and love. He's like, knows everything there is to know about BGT. And I was going to say to him, look, I want to go on 2016 and do some mind reading, do some really amazing mind reading. And I was going to go just as myself, just as Mark Spellman, the corporate mind reader, and try and dream up something original and different. And then in end of 2015 was when my daughter was born, but my wife was battling cancer at the time. And it changed every aspect. I stopped performing for 2 years and just had to be the supportive husband and the father to my newly born, Isabella. And then I kind of stopped performing completely for corporates, everything, just living off savings and that kind of thing. And then I said to Tessa was clear of cancer, and she said to me, Mark, when are you going to jump back in, And I said, you know what, I'm going to jump back in, but I want to show what real magic is, not the theatrical side of magic, not the illusions, the close-up, the clever sleight of hand and the optical secrets, but more so that there is real magic in the world, and that it's beyond trickery and illusions. Those things are amazing and clever and astonishing and entertaining, but there is real magic, and it's in the simplest of things. It's in the people that we love dearly, And I think having Tessa go through what she went through and having Isabella come to the board, and the whole battle, the whole challenge of it all, changed me as a human being, and I came out the other side of it. I like to think a better human being than I was before. I a lot less, career driven and that kind of thing. Which ironically now my career is doing really well, which is like bizarre. But so that was it.
You've always been one of the nicest guys in show business, Mark. I mean, everybody that knows you will attest to this.
That's very, very kind of you. So and
it's nice to see that with your success, you still hold on to that. So I just wanted to say that to the viewers. Mark is literally the nicest guy in the business.
Thank you. That's really sweet of you. I really appreciate that. So I said to Russ...
Well, you would say that. You're the nicest guy in the
business. So then I got in contact with Russ and I said, look, Russ, I really want to do BGT. I'm ready to jump back in, but things are different for me now. And Russ said to me, what do you want to do? And I sent him just the end video. It was a really rough cut. For those that don't know, I do lots of editing and that kind of thing. And I edited this rough cut of the story wrapped up, the red crayon, and all of those things are true. The red crayon, the puppet penguin, and all those elements of the things. I was literally watching Isabella over a 2-year period, literally. And so she formed the trick, really. the routine, the elements of it. And Russ looked at it and we were talking on the phone, and Russ said, "Look, I'll show the producers, and listen, if this is what you want to do, then yeah, it'd be amazing."
You obviously went straight through with the Golden Buzzer to the live shows, and I know that journey that year didn't end as far as you wanted it to. So you went back, and in order to go back, you created a new character. I mean, I don't believe this has ever been done, anything like it, in Got Talent, but you came back as a character, as a man behind a mask, as X, which kept the whole country on tenterhooks, which is just incredible. The journey is certainly the most incredible moment I've seen in BGT history, no doubt.
Thank you.
But, you came onto that show as this mystery figure, but surely somebody knew. I mean, give us some insight here, Mark. Okay. What was the backstory to that?
So first of all, why X and how X? When I got the Golden Buzzer there, you're right. I fell at the semi-finals, and the acts that night were just better. They were better. I wasn't as strong as my audition, and they deserved to go through, and that's just the way it is in life sometimes. But I had hidden elements, in the final that I was dreaming of. I was going to reveal this whole thing about hope and never giving up. And obviously not making the final, I couldn't do it. And I came back home, and I remember I was bitterly disappointed, because you know what it's like. It's like writing three parts of a film, a trilogy, and the production at the last minute say, "Oh, you can't do the last one." You kind of go, "What?" You really want to do that last one. And I couldn't do it. So I just got on with normal life and being a father and getting back into performing again, just as me. And then one night I just thought to myself, that can't be it. That can't be that one moment that I had. There's got to be a way that I can finish the story. And in 2011, I created a character called Prank, who was a faceless magician. And I've always loved Banksy, because illustration, art background, I've always loved that Banksy. And I love that notion of never knowing who he is and what he is, and that kind of thing, hidden identity. And I thought, God, wouldn't it be great if there was a magician like that? Not like the masked magician, because we all know what we think about the masked magician. He was hiding his identity for different reasons. And then I just thought to myself, maybe, and I pulled out this old sort of Photoshop thing that I'd done of Prank as a TV pitch back in 2011. And it was a hoodie with a white mask, and I thought, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And one of the things that you get criticised for sometimes when you do leave yourself on the stage with a story, like what for the Golden Buzzer, the story of Tessa and Isabella, some people go, "Oh, did the sob story get him through?" And that was, and I always think to myself, I don't like the word sob story. I think people have stories. Life is life. But by becoming X, I thought, well, one, that kind of gets me in. I'm not relying on my sort of small fan base from before. I'm going in anonymous. Equally, I don't have a backstory, so that if I do well, the whole notion of, well, he only got through because of his story, well, X didn't have one, so I could kind of quash that theory as well. And in answer to your question, no one knew apart from a very mutually good friend of ours, and that is Russ Stevens. I spoke to Russ about it. Russ fell in love with it. He said it was going to be nigh impossible to do this. And I said, look, we make the impossible possible. That's what we do for a living. So let's just do this. And Russ managed to open up certain doors and kind of eliminate certain things that I would have to deal with normally if I was just going through the regular audition process.
I mean, literally open up certain doors. I mean, you had to get in and out of that building every day, and it's not like you can just pass by and nobody notice you. You've been on the show the previous years, so you're well known to
100%.
the crew and everybody else. So, I mean, let's just start with that. Just at ground zero, how on earth did you get to the audition and get backstage? Were you wearing the mask the entire time?
Okay, yeah, arrived? Literally, yeah. So basically what happened was, my real, Spellman is a stage name. A lot of people do know that. But, so my real name is not, so legal forms and things like that, whenever I fill anything out, it's not Spellman. So I could apply again. No one on BGT would ever remember my real name. They would now only know me as Mark Spellman, because obviously that's the name that gets sort of touted about. That's the name that you perform under. So there was that element. So that was covered. I had to send in photographic ID. So all I did was I put my passport on the photocopy machine, and I did the contrast right down, really dodgy, and no one ever looks like their passport photograph anyway, So that slipped through the net and just got, yeah, great. And then Russ was able. There are two ways when you do BGT. Sometimes you get shortlisted. You kind of avoid some of the earlier sort of filtering process of BGT.
And Russ was able to push you through that.
Absolutely. So I wrote up the routine with Ant and Dec, and I really did the routine. One, because I wanted to talk about us as humans and connection. That was really important for me. But also as well, it was a little bit of a tip of the hat. They gave me the golden buzzer the year before. And I know that sort of Ant had gone through, some problems that everyone knows about and stuff. And I thought, I just wanted to kind of celebrate their connection and create a routine around them. Because X is just a faceless, it wasn't even my voice. It's not my voice there at all. It's a female voice.
How did you even exist backstage as X?
In the mask.
Did you have like your own dressing room, or did you just sit around for hours on end in this head?
The audition in Manchester, Russ said to me, whatever you do, when you go for the audition in Manchester, because we thought audition in Manchester, not London, because I know a lot of London magicians, I know most magicians anyway, but you just didn't want to be around too much. I had a chaperone with me, a friend called Colin, who also wore a disguise because he's also a magician, and magicians are clever, they go, hang on, Colin, guy in a mask, it's got to be MARC SPELMANN. So he had to wear a disguise as well, just hat and glasses, and it was madness. It was brilliant. I will release it. I've got footage backstage and everything else that I will release one day on YouTube or something. But literally in Manchester at the Lowry, it was a case of going through the door as X, showing my form. Russ sorted out my photo ID, getting in and everything else. So all of those elements were fine. And what would happen was Colin would be the person that if anyone came up to X, they would say, where do you need your props? We need you to do a run through of your act. And Colin would step in and say, he knew the act. He knew, I'd rehearsed it with him hundreds of times. And Colin would step in and say, no, if you want to talk about anything technical minded, you talk to me.
Even the small points of turning up at the venue, thinking, well, now we've got paparazzi involved, there's media interest. So now, even your arrival, you can't turn up as Mark in the car. I mean, do you have to put some other disguise on?
Yeah, no, absolutely. All valid points and valid questions. And really simply, whilst on set, I was X the whole time. The whole way through, I had the mask on the whole time. And when we were arriving, obviously you've got to remember, when X auditioned, I was just another kind of slightly weird act that no one really...
Yeah, so not so much attention then, but at this point...
Semi-finals.
A lot of media interest.
Yes, semi-finals. But I was a media nightmare. You got to remember. So when I was MARC SPELMANN the year before, there was like interviews and stories and tell us about your battle and your wife, and so endless interviews. X was a little bit... It was a polar opposite experience as X, and I loved both of them for different reasons. But as X, no one could interview me, so I did no interviews. There was no media interest in who I was really at that point. Only after I did the semi-final that people started going, okay, this X guy's just won the semi-final. This could be a serious thing. But what we would do is, as we were driving, we went in Colin's car, not my car, just in case they wanted to look up registration numbers. And a mile before we would get to the Hammersmith Apollo, we would pull over, I'd put a baseball cap on, glasses, and I'd have a hoodie on as well. And that's kind of how we would drive closer. Once we were in earshot of the Hammersmith Apollo, I'd put the X mask on. I was always in the outfit in the car. And the X mask would go on at the very last minute because it did get hot underneath that mask.
The greatest moment as well in BGT history, in my humble opinion, when you took the mask off, the reaction was unprecedented. The audience would not stop cheering and applauding to allow you to speak. You can see if you watch the video back, you just not knowing at which point is it okay for me to cut off this applause. Goes against every fibre of our being, doesn't it, as an entertainer, to stop the audience because they want to give it.
But you know what?
How long would that have gone on?
But you know what though? Here's the interesting thing about that, and this is something that you wouldn't know unless you were there. Part of the audio, when you watch it on YouTube, they've cut part of the audio because when they cut to that reveal video with all the callback to the word hope and everything else. That I edited that, literally 2 o'clock in the morning the night before to get the final one done. And when I went into the final, the only people at that point, you had Russ that knew and Colin that knew, but now the VT people knew because they had to check the file. But they had to sign a non-disclosure. So even on the night of the final, in the rehearsals, they would only play the video up to the part where Anne says to Dec, you know, can you imagine if it was someone we knew? And it would just cut, and they would just go, that's the end of the rehearsal, thank you, X, you can leave the stage. Because they knew that they didn't want anything leaking out before the show went live that night. And when I took the mask off, it's really weird. When I did, in 2018, when I did the video of Isabella and Tessa, you got to remember, as I had only ever watched that video on my computer, on my screen, on my own, and Tessa had seen it as well, you know. When you're watching it at the London Palladium, it's a whole different thing. So that emotion in the first audition in 2018 is absolutely genuine. I just didn't realise a whole theatre of people feeling the emotion of your story just brings it all back again, you know. It's like, it's the weirdest thing, and something you can't rehearse. That just is what it is. It's a moment that kind of catches up with you. Same thing with taking the mask off. You know, after I failed to get into the final the year before, I was really gutted. I was like, God, I've put all these hidden messages in there. So when I took that mask off, it wasn't that I couldn't speak because of the audience. There was, I would say, about sort of 15 seconds where I physically couldn't speak. It was like I had a permanent lump in my throat, because it was like opening up doors, your patio doors, to a hurricane coming in. The roar in the audience was epic. It's one of my most proudest. It's going to be so hard for me to top that. And if tomorrow
I think to a degree you have to accept that you can't top that.
No,
you can't. But you use that as the final building block in a career that will now go on and on and on.
Absolutely. And what an honour to have a moment like that. You know, for me, I look back at it and I just think, what an absolute honour it was to be in that moment. And to have that, and you know, and if that is the pinnacle of my career, I'll take it. You know,
it was just incredible. I mean, you know, and it will go down in history. I think, Mark, seriously, as one of the greatest moments in the Got Talent franchise forever. Mark, Mark. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jamie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, you're just cutting out. Mark. Hello.
I'm sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Tommy, do we have him?